Research released by RMIT suggests that there has been a 300% increase in gambling within Australians since the beginning of the pandemic. And I ironically would put my money on this being attested to gamblers signing up to betting apps because of venue closures within the country during this time. Seeing numbers like this can be pretty scary. So today I wanted to talk a bit about some of the preventative measures you can put in place to avoid falling into the traps that these establishments and apps present. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video, this is going to be part 2, or the follow-up to the previous video I made on the topic of gambling, where today I'm going to be talking specifically about methods that definitely could help someone prevent developing a gambling addiction. Before I get into today's video, I want you to please note and absolutely use the resources I have linked down below if you are someone who needs help or assistance with gambling addiction. I am not the most qualified person to be talking about this for sure. There are resources which have been set up and provided down in the links down below to assist you if you need that support. Please go and use them if you fall into that category. Otherwise, stick around, watch the video, and see if you find anything of what I'm about to say relatively interesting or potentially helpful. So as a quick fast fun fact, according to research conducted by RMIT, Australia is home to about 20% of the world's automatic gambling machines, also known as the pokies, as to what we call them here within Australia, which is about 200,000 standalone machines. And during Australia's lockdown periods, there has been an influx in new gamblers, especially in the format of them joining sports betting apps, which has in some circumstances put people in a pretty tough financial position, even to the point of calling it hardship or financial hardship, which is not a good statistic to be quoting at all. It's very clear, and it's just from my own experiences in general, that people within Australia love to gamble. It is almost part of the culture. And love is a very subjective word in terms of this video, because I don't think anyone's going to be saying they love losing their hard-earned money, or they love losing when they gamble and inevitably lose what they were originally playing with. It's been known forever that gambling is addictive. That is not new news. I'm not trying to teach you something that is blatantly obvious. However, something worth reminding people of is that these gambling establishments have very good tactics. They've done lots of work to learn the best ways to entice someone to come on board and spend their money using their platform. That is also common knowledge, but something worth reiterating. So with that being said, whether you have a problem with gambling or not, what can be done and what can you do to make sure that your finances remain intact if you do decide that you want to participate and actually spend a bit of money, splash a bit of cash, and put a couple of bets on, depending on whatever it is that you're planning to gamble on. First up being that if you are a problem gambler, you have one of two options. There really isn't anything else you're going to be able to do. Option number one is to call the gambling hotline, and this is the most obvious part of today's video, but it is the most important for those in need. If they ever come across this, hopefully it is a wake-up call for them. Call that number and let them help you. That is option number one. Option number two, which might not be as effective, but still a precautionary measure you could take depending on how you are choosing to gamble, whether it be you wanting to actually go to a physical establishment and gamble. In that instance, ask them to put you on a ban list. Self-banning is a thing, and you can choose a period of time to be banned from that establishment. Do that for all of them, because then if they don't let you in, it's going to be a lot harder for you to gamble your money away. Another instance is to contact any type of application that you are gambling your money on and ask them to enact the same thing. Ask them to ban your account. They are really your two only and biggest options for problemed gamblers. Now, for people who like to gamble but haven't yet developed a crippling gambling addiction, this is where some of these suggestions might be a little bit more helpful and might actually help you from spending too much money in a single sitting, which is something that obviously you want to avoid. The first thing on my list is to set a deposit limit or even a bet limit, which can definitely help you be okay with losing a certain amount of money in a certain instance. Like in my previous video, I mentioned that I actually use this tactic with a certain type of gambling that I myself participate in. Such as when I go to the casino, I allow myself to play with $100 of my own money that's been taken from my bank account. If I win with that money, Sky's the limit. I can gamble it freely however I want. But no matter what, once that original $100 is gone, if I lose it all at any point, I must stop gambling then and there. I'm not to chase my losses. I'm allowed to go, that's all right. I've lost a bit of money today and I don't need to feel bad about losing it. I had a good time. And even if I didn't, I need to suck it up and walk out of the establishment with my head held high so that I don't go chasing my losses to develop, like I said, bad habits. This has served me well over the years. Now, I'm not stupid. I know that not everyone has the same level of self-discipline or control or has worked their way into this position to allow themselves not to gamble like crazy. However, it is a tactic that is worth trying if you are someone who is either new to gambling, a little bit worried about your ability to control yourself in those scenarios, or you are someone who just needs to make a change. Give this a go as your first attempt. Another thing you can do, which is definitely subjective, but one that I have seen actually work, is to build a support network. I actually had a buddy who used to go out a fair bit and he would always end up at the Cas with his mates. Every single weekend they would go out and he would spend money, but didn't want to spend money in that scenario. What eventually happened was he pulled one of his other friends aside who kept finding himself in the same position as well and said, hey, let's hold each other accountable. Let's make it so when people go to gamble, even if we're in the establishment, let's just talk and spend time together. And instead of spending our hard-earned cash, we make this the new norm. And over time, they built a really healthy habit of being able to go there, spend time with friends without having to bet money. It's something that, again, having that support system and having someone in place that they can just sit with and actually talk it through is definitely going to be a massive deterrent to, the enticement of wanting to fit in and having to spend money. If you look like you're active in a room full of people that you usually hang out with and you're having a discussion about something, sure, the distraction is not going to be there. You're going to be able to have that conversation and spend time with that person. Using that support network is definitely one worth considering if you are someone who has those resources available to you. And depending on how far you're willing to go, one that is a little bit hard to do at first, but something that you kind of forget about. I've done this myself with social media over many, many years, is to delete the apps on your phone and delete the passwords you have to those accounts. Not having them in front of your face, not getting those notifications is definitely going to be an effective way to not remind you that you need to go and gamble. I used to spend a lot of time on Reddit, and my habit would be that whenever I had nothing to do, I'd pick up my phone and open that app. So I deleted the app. And when the app was gone, I had to find something else to do. Instead of doing that, I'd pick up my book and read a couple of pages. It was a good substitution of that habit. It's called habit substitution. I've actually made videos talking about topics similar within some of the books that I've read on the channel. So again, it might seem really crazy, but just by deleting that app, this is kind of applicable to anything, not just gambling apps like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. If you really have a problem with it, it can be another really effective way to remove that distraction. And my last scenario is tied directly to a problem that I used to have when I used to play Cross Lotto at my local supermarket. I used to go to my local supermarket. I used to work there as well. And every time I would buy a specific type of ticket. It was called a Keno ticket, where you'd spend about $1 with any opportunity to win up to $1 million if your ticket numbers matched. Obviously, the odds are incredibly low, and I wasted a lot of money because I built this habit where every time I walked in there, I needed to buy one of these tickets. Realized this, wanted to do something about this, so what did I do? I decided to substitute buying a ticket for a piece of fruit. I made the priority every single time I walked into this shop, whether it be with my parents, with my friends, or by myself to buy groceries, whatever I need to buy, I focused on the piece of fruit that I needed to walk out of there with and eat versus the ticket. And after a while, my priority became the fruit. Again, I substituted the bad habit with a good habit, and I stopped buying tickets. I actually haven't bought one of those tickets in many years now. And I'm really glad because it's something that I spent thousands of dollars on, something I lost thousands of dollars on doing, and it's something I never want to ever go back to. So definitely another good way to substitute a bad habit. If you go and buy scratch off tickets and things like that, substitute the purchase with something else that is of benefit to you. Buying a piece of fruit is going to be generally pretty healthy. It's a good choice to make for sure. Don't buy chocolate bars. It's a bad substitution, but the point overall is to substitute the bad habit with something that you're okay with until you get to the point where you don't have that habit in place anymore. It's also important to understand that everything I've just covered is never going to be guaranteed to work. It does not guarantee that you won't develop a gambling problem, and it won't guarantee that you won't spend money at a casino or on gambling tickets. The point that I'm trying to make is that there are solutions to avoiding falling into these traps, and depending on where you're at, I know people who are seasonal gamblers who lose lots of money every single week, and I know people who will place the odd bet here and there, and both of them have different feelings about how they go about their gambling routine. I have one friend who loses a lot of money regularly and just shrugs his shoulders and goes, I don't care, whatever. I have a friend who lost $20 and was like, I have to chase my losses. I have to chase my losses. Otherwise, I'm never going to financially recover from this. It's all about how they perceive it, and it's super interesting. But the point that I'm trying to make is that everyone's different. And just because everyone's different doesn't mean that you don't have these feelings and emotions, and getting into the right headspace when approaching it should allow you to have a lot of fun whilst not also eating yourself inside for losing some money. To wrap today's video up, in my opinion, the real winners are the ones who choose not to gamble at all. I'm kind of like that next level up where I like to have a gamble, but I don't beat myself up if I lose some money. It's not the end of the world. Whereas I know some people who are in that trap already and they chase their losses and it really does eat them up. That was the intention of today's video, was for those kinds of people to kind of just suggest and talk about what can be done to avoid falling into the next traps in the line. With that being said, in the next video in this little saga, it's going to be a couple of reflection stories on people who have lost a significant amount of money. It's going to probably be a little bit sad, but it's part of the overall topic that I'm talking about surrounding gambling, and I think it's important to cover. With that being said, I'll leave you there. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was insightful, and if it was, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. And that's pretty much it. Have a good day, have a good week, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.